Blue Jays, bit of a dud last night. When you're not cheering for them, fantastic baseball game, but not exactly the result that Jays fans were looking for. Let's talk about it and where the team is at going into game number 4 today. So the Toronto Blue Jays could not eliminate the New York Yankees, falling in Game 3 of the American League Division Series, setting up a bit of a tense situation. But let's start with last night in what has to be viewed as a disappointment for the Blue Jays. And I thought they had him. I really did. I thought Vlad hits a home run in the first. We talked about it yesterday. Jays need to get off to a good start. Vlad, home run in the first inning, they're up 2-0. Jays take a 6-1 lead. Vladdy is catching air going into home plate, and Yankee Stadium is silent. But then something happened that has not happened for a little bit, and certainly hasn't happened in this series. The Blue Jays let them back in. That's what this was. Now, credit the Yankees for taking advantage and taking a mile when the Blue Jays gave them an inch. But the Blue Jays' sloppy play let the Yankees hang around in this matchup. And look, again, credit New York for being able to come up with that performance that they did, but it was uncharacteristic from the Blue Jays. And guys that you're not expecting it from, right? Like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, again, not a Gold Glove second baseman, but a Gold Glover, and just a bad misplay on a ground ball to second base that allows the inning to continue and a run scores. Barger drops a pop-up that sets up a 3-run home run. Santander has a bit of a oopsie out in the outfield and allows another run to score. The Blue Jays are good, and it felt like they had the Yankees number. And we've talked about it, how they feel like they're a bad matchup for the Yankees, but you can't give these guys those extra outs. And New York proved why with an excellent performance in this game. And look, I had said Judge needed to step up. The numbers were fine, but it wasn't the big performances at the big times that they needed. And then to pull that fastball at 100 on the inner line of the batter's box and crack that thing off the foul pole to give the Yankees new life in this series is just remarkable stuff, really. That is one of one that can do that. And so now the big guy is awake, and the Yankees have that momentum. Can the Blue Jays take that back? Because you look at it for Toronto, everything was going right, but now there's some adversity. How do you handle this? Traditionally, this era of Blue Jays baseball, they haven't handled it all that well. When the ball got rolling against them against Seattle, they couldn't stop it. When the ball got rolling against Minnesota, couldn't stop it. Game 3. So all that we talked about there, like 5th, 6th inning, had time to still get this thing back, and they just couldn't do it. The Yankee bullpen was fantastic. Doval was really good. Williams was the best version of himself, same with Bednar, and now we have a series again. And again, I'm obviously looking at this game with a rooting interest, but that was a heck of a ball game. When you have the two stars going head to head, Vladdy coming up with big play after big play after big play, and Judge with punch, counterpunch the whole way. Just two of the best players in the game going head to head on a gigantic stage. It's what the playoffs are all about in any sport. So fantastic work from both superstars. But now the Blue Jays are in a bit of a tricky spot. And a few people today are criticizing the manager for the position that this team is in. I am not one of them. I would have loved for the Blue Jays to have not pulled Bieber after 53 pitches in the 3rd inning. But I don't think Bieber gave him a choice. I don't think he had it yesterday. He was wildly ineffective. Everything was all over the place. You didn't have any sense that he could command any pitch that he was going with. So my issue today is not with Schneider pulling Bieber. It is with Bieber being pullable and having his ineffectiveness forcing Schneider's hand. That is, this is the situation that we all wanted him for. That every time you talked about Bieber, it was okay, yes, but then playoffs. Okay, what's he going to be able to do? What's he going to be? All right, they need him as their Game 2 starter. Well, now they need him as a Game 3 starter. This wasn't it. He was bad. He was not good. And the Blue Jays didn't even need him to be Trey Savage. They didn't need him to be Kevin Gausman. They just needed him to be something close to a Shane Bieber. They didn't need Cy Young Award winner. They just needed 5-6 innings, 2, 3, 4 runs, whatever, and survive your way through it. And he couldn't do it. So that was very, very frustrating. I don't put that on the manager. I put that on the pitcher himself for not executing that. I don't love the strategy of having all these relievers kind of pop into these games and not put too much on their arm. I understand why you are doing it, to keep everyone available, but now the Yankees have seen Varland twice. Now the Yankees have seen a few of these guys, they've seen Flu Hardy twice. They've seen some of these guys multiple times, and that is where you run into trouble in these series, is that the more you get to see these guys, the more comfortable you are, and the more adjustments you're able to make and take it to them there. So the Blue Jays now are in a spot that I hate. And this was the spot that I was worried about, where it is a bullpen game in the Bronx against a kid who just pitched 8 shutout innings of 14 strikeout baseball. And look, like, the Blue Jays have had some good performances in the bullpen this season, but it is not a strength of this team by any stretch of the imagination. And so to be relying on it now, this is what I was worried about. When I did the video about I would still have Scherzer here. I would have loved for him to be able to come in and be a bulk guy when Bieber doesn't necessarily have it, or to be the guy today. If you want to go with the bullpen game today after Scherzer, like, just bank on Scherzer getting a couple, or have him be the bulk guy after the opener, or whatever you want to do, fine. But I don't like how this is set up now for Toronto. You are going to have to get a lot out of some guys. The curious part is Kevin Gausman, who, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Pitchers, about halfway through the not pitching cycle for starters, they'll throw a bullpen session. And apparently, Gausman pushed his to today just in case they needed him for this matchup. And so it could very much be like what the Blue Jays did in 15, where David Price came in Game 4 to close that game out for a few innings, and they went with Marcus Stroman in Game 5, and then they did the bat flip and all of that. I wonder if that happens here, where Gausman comes in a bit of a bulk role in Game 4, and Savage is actually the guy on a bit shorter rest in Game number 5. I'm very interested to see how the Blue Jays manage that whole situation. But as far as the lineup is concerned, I would go with the defense first group. This team has been able to manufacture runs in a number of ways this season. I think you have to make sure that the thing that has got you here, those fundamentals, the not making the mistakes in the outfield, you have to make sure that those aren't happening and that stays the way it is. So Santander, fine off the bench, whatever. But I think it has to, I can't believe I am saying this, I think it has to be Straw out there taking his spot. And honestly, like, I don't even think he needs to DH. I think Santander has to be a bat off of the bench, and Springer stays in as designated hitter, and it's either Straw or Lucas or whoever you want to put out there. But it would be tough to take Schneider out at this point, but Santander has to be out. And I mean, it's tough because, like, Barger is a big power bat that you can have, and he hasn't played a bad third base. He just made a bad play. Kiner Falefa, like, you can't have Ernie Clemente both. So one of Barger or Kiner Falefa is going to play on this one, probably Barger, and roll with it there. So we will see how the Blue Jays are able to manage this, and for my sanity, hopefully avoid a Game 5 later this week. What did you think? Am I overreacting, underreacting to anything? Share your Blue Jays takes down in the comments below, and we can chat about it down there.